there. And I want to bring in our panel to continue this discussion, starting with our White House correspondent, Emerald Robinson, USA Strong Executive Director, Erin Elmore, and the host of Stacy on the Right, Stacy Washington, and also our constitutional attorney, Amir Benno. Amir, you're surrounded by a bunch of powerhouse ladies this morning. We thank you for sticking around.
Thanks. Listen, I've got 3 daughters. I'm used to it.
So you get it. You know what it's like, and we need that feminine participation, right? So a lot has happened.
That's right.
You guys, since 1917, obviously. Lately, we've seen more and more women taking strides. I mean, look at the vice president, for example. Politics aside, let's not even go into that, but politics aside, she has opened the door for women in the future to hold that position. And every year, there's a theme for Women's Month. This year, the theme is Valiant Women of the Vote, Refusing to be Silenced. Erin, how important is that theme, especially right now?
Well, what bothers me is the virtue signaling and the identity politics. I mean, I am a woman, but I would rather get a job because of my credentials. I want to be looked at because of my resume. I don't want to get special treatment because I am a woman. I think that the way we progress as a society is we let ourselves, yes, express who we are as women and men, but hey, we have credentials. I don't think anyone should get a job because they are the first transgender. They are the first Irish American. They are the first Hispanic American. They are the first African American. I think we should all be valued because we are successful and be successful because we've worked hard for it.
Erin, I think you make a great point. The intention is for equality, right? But sometimes when we try to be overly inclusive, we end up being exclusive, like you're saying. Stacy, your thoughts?
Well, so I'm cognizant of the fact that it's merit that gets us places. It's hard work and effort, but there is something to be said for seeing someone in a space. I know for myself, being a syndicated radio host, and we're actually on Sirius XM. We're on satellite radio, so it's not syndication. It's an entertainment and media company, and faces like mine are seen all over it, but not as much in the hosting position on conservative media. You know, it's a new thing for me to be doing what I'm doing, but it took a lot of hard work and effort to get there. And I would never want anyone to say that I'm hosting on Sirius or I'm sitting here on Newsmax or I'm doing any of the things that I'm doing because I'm Black or because I'm a woman. I worked hard and I busted it like a buzzsaw for 10 years to get here. And so I don't want the attributes to be the thing that people focus on, but we can't deny the fact that a face in a space, it breaks barriers, it changes perceptions. And so I think the nuanced approach for us is to acknowledge that and always focus on a person's accomplishments instead of first genuflecting, as Erin just said, which is it's so demeaning to us. Don't mention the race or the gender, but simply acknowledge the accomplishments and the expertise that is there. That's what people really want. And I think the liberals have gone so far into the demographic box checking that they've forgotten that. A lot of liberals are very accomplished, but they go first with, well, I'm the first Black or I'm the first woman. That's the wrong approach always.
And I think that's
Emerald, go ahead. I was going to next.
I'd like to echo what both Erin and Stacy said. And I have to say, I have largely worked in conservative-leaning news media, and I have never thought about the fact that I was a woman in the newsroom. It just never seemed to occur to me. And I'll tell you, the first time it did, it was when I was working for another news organization, and I was the chief White House correspondent. There was a picture of me standing in the line at the White House. As we do these stand-up shots before the president comes out. And my friend overseas, who was in the UK, sent me the pictures. He said, "Oh, I saw this. This is so amazing. You're the only woman in the picture. Go, girl." And I hadn't even thought about it because that's just not how I think about my work or what I do. Clearly, it plays into what I do, and especially more so being a mom and being in the news media. I think it matters more than just the fact that I'm a woman. But it's never been an issue. It's never that I've been applauded or promoted because of my gender. And that's how I would want it to be.
Right. It seems sometimes the men are the ones focusing on the women in the room, the fact that they are a woman in the room, and the women just want to be treated the same. Like all of you have said, for your merit, for your accomplishments, and everything else that follows aside from the fact that you are, in fact, a woman. Now, again, with the topic being refusing to be silenced, this is a different form of silence, but we are seeing more women speaking up since the Me Too movement on both sides of the aisle. Of course, the man in the hot seat right now, Governor Andrew Cuomo. Amir, I want to hear your response after. We're going to play a quick soundbite of the press conference yesterday for the first time when he responded to those 3 allegations. Take a listen.
I never touched anyone inappropriately. I never touched anyone inappropriately. I never knew at the time that I was making anyone feel uncomfortable.
Amir, as an attorney, now the governor is refusing to resign, but he did apologize, and he's now asking the public to reserve judgment. What did you make of that press conference?
Well, first of all, his focus on whether he touched somebody is really beside the point. You know, whether he created a hostile work environment for people to feel that they were uncomfortable because of their gender, because he was being sexually aggressive or demeaning in some other way is really what's important. So he's really trying to move the focus onto something that should not be the focus. I think that it's hypocritical of him to also say, look, reserve judgment. He didn't reserve judgment. He didn't reserve judgment on Donald Trump. Certainly throughout Trump's presidency, on both impeachments, he was not one to reserve judgment. What I will say also, though, you know, and I hope this isn't a controversial point, while the accusations against him are very severe, very significant and substantial and need to be investigated, it does say something when the focus of the media has been, they only really picked up on attacking Cuomo when these sexual harassment allegations surface. Meanwhile, we have 15,000 people who have died in nursing homes because of his malfeasance. And they didn't think that that was significant enough to pick up on. So I think that there's a little bit of a recalibration that needs to be had in terms of our priorities generally as to what should drive people to be, you know, to the media to cover an issue and to be concerned about somebody's governance as the chief executive of a state. I'm not in any way trying to diminish or excuse his behavior with respect to these women, but it is interesting that this is what is really capturing the media cycle as opposed to the nursing home scandal.
I found that equally as interesting. I think that we, you know, as humans often ask for grace when we're not giving it. Of course, he didn't give that same, you know, right to justice or grace thought process to Brett Kavanaugh when he demanded a lie detector test, saying if he didn't do it, it's just he said, she said. How is this any different? But yes, we are focusing on this. And Aaron, I'm sure you've seen this online, as I have, many people speculating, is this just a way to cover the fact of the nursing home scandal, get that off the topic, give somebody else something else to talk about in something that's not necessarily life-ruining? These accusations, they are bad, of course, but they're not in the same category as a lot of different people we've seen over the past couple of years being taken down by the Me Too movement.
And that's what I was about to say to Amir, my colleague over there, that I agree with him wholeheartedly. Where was this sort of patience and deference with Brett Kavanaugh? It certainly didn't exist. I do believe that these sexual assault allegations should be taken seriously. Yes, everyone deserves due process, but this is just a way to say we've held his feet to the fire on something so they can allow the nursing home scandal to be ignored. Now, let me tell you, it will not be ignored because the New York AG, she is going to take this seriously. And by the way, it's not for altruistic intentions. She wants to be governor next. So she is going to get him out of the way so she can pave the way for herself. But in this position, yeah, there she is. But let me tell you something. She is doing this for her own gain. I don't care why she's doing it. Let her investigate. Let's see what happened. These people who lost people in nursing homes deserve to have answers. Here we go. Buckle up, because it's going to get serious in the state of New York.
And the nursing home controversy, of course, not just women, men and women, affecting so many families here in New York. I want to play another soundbite, and then I want to get your response, Stacy, to something else as well.
But if they were offended by it, then it was wrong. And if they were offended by it, I apologize. And if they were hurt by it, I apologize. And if they felt pain from it, I apologize. I apologize. I did not intend it. I didn't mean it that way. But if that's how they felt, that's all that matters, and I apologize.
A lot of ifs in there. I think there were 4 or 5. I just counted real quickly. Clearly, these women were hurt, and clearly they were offended. Clearly, they're speaking out because so. Now, Stacy, do you think as a society we have built up Governor Cuomo's ego so much, using terms like Cuomosexual? You know, people calling them their celebrity crush, not just anybody, people on talk shows calling him their celebrity crush, that he almost got to this point where he felt untouchable, that his persona and his demeanor, rhetoric was maybe well received?
Okay, so listen, this for me is so simple. I taught it to the kids when they were little. Keep your hands and lips and feet to yourselves. You don't bite, you don't kick, you don't scratch, you don't hit, you don't punch. Keep it to yourselves. You only raise your hand to another when you're defending yourself, and that's at the last possible opportunity. So he does feel as if he's owed, a little bit of leeway here. But I'll tell you what I know about this situation, and this is the straight up, this is it. He'd rather be talking about hugging and kissing people against their will than killing grandmas and grandpas. And that's why he's taking so much time to give these non-apology apologies. And that's all this is about.
It's almost as if it's easier for him to talk about. Emerald, real quick, we have about 30 seconds left. Why do you think it is that we're just now seeing this picture of Anna Royce and that uncomfortable photo of the governor holding her face at that wedding, asking her if he could kiss her?
Well, as you said, this went largely ignored for a while. There were accusations out in December that didn't get much attention. I personally think that Andrew Cuomo is a threat to a possible 2024 Kamala Harris run, potentially, and that the media and the Democrats are already looking that far ahead as possibly nullifying him. And he is so disqualified as a general candidate based on what he did with the nursing homes. And that's just not going to go away. We have another female colleague who's led the charge on this. That's Janice Dean over at Fox News. It's a personal story to it, and she has just been fierce. She has not let this go, and she, a lot of people who are in this situation who lost their loved ones due to Andrew Cuomo have her to thank for the attention that's being brought to this situation.
Absolutely. Emerald, Aaron, Stacy, and Amir. Next time we do this, Amir, I'm not going to point out that you're the only man on this panel because we're all on an equal playing field, right? If we've learned anything after this discussion. Thank you guys so much.
Rob called me the belle of the ball before, so, I sort of fit it.
Deal. Thanks, guys. All right, you're watching Wake Up America. We'll be right back.